Hey, what up, fam? It's your boy Norm, and I would like to welcome you to episode 73 of the Evangelical Norm. Today, I would like to talk about the fact that 2 days from now, we have midterm elections coming up. And we, you know, we all have to go out. I hope all of you who are listening, watching, paying any attention are going to go out and vote. I can't imagine that I have many people who are watching me regularly that are not involved politically, civic minded, understand the importance of voting. I mailed in my ballot the other day, and I'm in Utah, which is usually going to go Republican no matter what. We have a couple of races that are pretty close, considering the demographic and so on. But so to back up and put a little context in why I'm talking about what I'm talking about today is I've been hearing a lot about seeing comments and posts on Twitter and so on hashtag Blexit, which is I don't know who I know that Candace Owens is a huge voice for this movement. Heard a guy tonight on Cross Politics named Andrew Norman, I believe, who is a part of it. I don't know if he's the founder, who exactly is the founder of this movement, but it is a movement to convince black people that they are not locked in to vote Democrat. For decades, the Democratic Party has been supposedly the party of the black people, even though Democrats were the party of the KKK, the party of slavery. But with the New Deal and other things that came along, uh, the Democratic Party pretty much gathered up the black vote and has had that locked in for quite a few years. So now there's this movement to try to convince black people that this is not the the surefire way to improvement in their community, and the fact that for 40 years at least or more, much more actually, probably 80 years, 80 years plus, um, the Democrats have been saying that we're going to improve things for you, and they haven't. It has not been an outright improvement in that community. So they're trying to convince them that they need to step out and not just vote straight party line. And so as I was thinking about that, and I'm like, that's great. I don't think anyone should be voting straight party line. Even when I was a registered Republican, I never voted straight party line. That's the cheap way out. It's a cop out. I think it's the non-thinking man's way of voting, to just vote straight party without looking into each one, because there are things that, I mean, even in my own vote, I did not vote for Romney. I don't think he's right for Utah. I don't think he has Utah values. The only Utah value he has is that he's Mormon, and there are more and more people in Utah who are not Mormons. So I didn't vote for him, but I was not either going to vote for Jenny Wilson, who's a Democrat, because I cannot vote for a party that is going to continue to push for a woman's right to murder her child, and that's bottom line. So there is, unless you can find me a Democrat that can absolutely convince me that they are truly pro-life, that they are truly an abolitionist, uh, and as far as abortion, then I would never vote for a Democrat. I shouldn't say never, but I it's hard pressed. You got to have some way crazy proof or reasons for me to vote Democrat as long as they are the as abortion, right to abortion is in their platform. So can't really vote Democrat. Not going to see me vote Democrat, and I'm not going to always vote Republican. And Mitt Romney was a prime example that I just refused to vote for Romney. I held my nose 6 years ago and voted for him in the presidential election, um, which I didn't vote for Trump in the last election either. So that says something there. At the time, I thought Romney was a little better than Trump was. So, all this being said, I think we honestly need to have a Chrexit, a Christian exit from the Republican Party, because the same thing that the Democrats have been saying to the black community for years, the fact that they are going to make things better for them, the Republicans have been telling us that and have been their actions have been proving otherwise over and over and over and over again. Trump did not give us the pro-life uh, justices that we were promised back when so many evangelicals turned their vote and voted for Trump. The compromise of the character of many leaders in the Christian community, men like Jerry Falwell Jr., guys like Pat Robertson had kind of lost his credibility a while ago, but guys like Robert Jeffress, who's James Dobson, guys that I really admired and looked up to and respected. That's the word I'm looking for. Respected at one time, who I've lost respect for because of their blanket support of Trump, their unwillingness to call him out on the things that we understand and we know are sin, and their just willingness to go along with him because he put the magic R behind his name. I mean, let's remember, people, that for years and years he was Democrat. Many of his own kids couldn't vote for him because they forgot to change their party affiliation and couldn't vote for him in the primaries in their states because they were still registered as Democrats. So, we're not getting the Republican Party is not the conservative party that it once was, that you truly think would still have our Christian worldview at heart and a desire to protect that. I do not believe the Republicans have the desire to push for marriage anymore. They don't have the desire to push for outlawing abortion anymore. Those are not things that are high up in the priorities for the Republican Party anymore. And it's time as Christians that we step out, that we stop fully putting our support behind the Republicans just because they're going to be a little bit better than Democrats. It's a false choice that is out there, that there are many independent, and I mean, I'm not 100% on board with a lot of the libertarian candidates either, but there are some independent people. And I think, my friend Zach Freiberg a while ago, a few years back, talked about the fact that we were probably going to be going to a four-party system. We're going to see a socialist party, the Democrat Party, the Republican Party, and a true Christian conservative party. And so we're gonna end up that way. It's either gonna be that, or the Republicans and the Democrats are gonna die, or maybe even merge into one party, which they're moving together more and more. And then you're gonna have a extreme far left party and an extreme far right Christian party. Not alt-right. We're not looking at, because again, that Christian party, and this is going to tie in even some of the issues, the social issues that have been going on in the church. True Christian party is going to pull in the racial things as well. And it's going to be an expunging. That alt-right is going to be part of the party of Trump. They're going to be part of the Republican Party, and we need to see the rise of a truly conservative Christian political party. And I think it's going to happen. I really do. As more and more as we see the Republicans break the promises that they made to us. Um, we thought with the Masterpiece Cake Shop in Colorado, we thought we had this grand victory in the Supreme Court, but that's going to have to end up going back to the Supreme Court, and I don't think we're going to win the victory the way we wanted to. We're not going. We're going to see more and more the loss of religious freedoms. We're going to see where it's going to come down to the point where the courts are going to say, "Bake the cake, bigot," and it's going to be because of people that Trump puts on the court. And I hope he proves me wrong. I even think in the next year and a half, in the next 2 years, we may have an opportunity to see Trump put at least one more justice on the court. Excuse me, sorry. And that's going to be the telling action right there. Is if either, let's admit it. Breyer and Ginsburg are very old, and it's either going to come to the point. I'm sure at this point there's no way Ginsburg is going to retire on her own, but she's old, and there is a high possibility that she passes away in the next 2 years. I'm just saying. I'm calling strikes, strikes, and balls, balls. So, she is upwards of 80, and it's quite possible. She's not a spring chicken anymore. I'm going to have people going, "Oh, you're wishing death." I'm not wishing death on her. That is not what I'm saying. But I'm saying there's a higher probability that Ruth Bader Ginsburg dies in the next 2 years than I do. We'll just put it like that. So whether health issues, whether retirement or death, we may have the possibility of at least one more, if not two more, in the next 2 years. I can't say whether or not Donald Trump is going to win another term as president. I find that highly unlikely, unless he finally figures out that he needs to put away Twitter, delete his account, or at least let someone else manage the POTUS account for Twitter, or the real Donald Trump account for Twitter. I don't think he's going to win another election. But then again, I also said he wasn't going to get the nomination. So as far as political predictions, I'm not the barometer you want to go by. But again, coming back to the point, I think it's time for Christians to, put up or shut up. We absolutely need to vote our values. We need to quit compromising and voting for the lesser of two evils. And we need to start saying to the Republican Party, either you need to step up and put in real conservatives and not give us men who write books bragging about their adultery as candidates, or we're going elsewhere. And we need to do that. If we can convince the Republican Party that we're going to pull our support and our finances away from them and go and form our own conservative Christian party, then we're going to continue to get rhinos and Republicrats as candidates in political office. And if you don't know what a Republicrat is, I highly suggest you go and check out Steve Deace, and he can give you a better definition. But as far as what I would define a Republicrat is, as I've heard Steve, and I don't know if he came up with the term or not, I give him credit for it, because he's the first person I heard to use it. So I would say he probably coined the term. But they're literally people who are on the other side but are wearing our jersey. They're working for in direct opposition to us, but they are wearing our jersey. They're actively scoring points for the other team. I mean, they're standing on our own free throw line and just putting in shot after shot after shot. They're kicking field goals at our own end zone, and no one is doing anything to stop it. I mean, we've had guys for, just off the top of my head, guys that I can think of: Mitch McConnell, Thad Cochran, um, Donald Trump. Uh, you know, these are people, Boehner and so on. These are people who have not had our best interests at heart. Um, and so it's time. I really, really think it's time as Christians that we need to stop. I mean, a lot, and I think a lot have, but there is a large group of evangelicals, because I get lumped into every attack tweet against evangelicals because of my handle, Evangelical Norm. I get lumped into those tweets where people are coming after evangelicals for voting for Trump. There's a large group of evangelicals who again, and I'm not saying they were absolutely wrong. I mean, your vote is your vote. Um, how you vote is not a primary issue of the gospel. It's not a salvific issue. It's not it's nowhere in the Ordo Salutis. Um, so you can vote. You could vote for Trump. You can vote however you vote. Is not going to affect where you spend eternity. I mean, but again, I don't see personally, and I'm not, I don't want to make this as a sweeping statement, but I don't see how a Christian, a pro-life, truly following after the teachings and the values presented in the Bible and the gospel of Christ and the things that Jesus said: if you love me, keep my commandments. I don't know how anyone who falls into those categories can vote for men like Trump or Democrats or any of these people who are absolutely working contrary to what Christian values are. So, I don't know, maybe I need to start my own hashtag and push this further. And hopefully, I mean, I really do hope it goes beyond the grand total of 60 subscribers. And I don't know how many of those subscribers from the audio and the video cross over. So we'll go conservative number of maybe I have 40 subscribers out there. I hope it goes a little bit beyond that, but I think it's time for a Chrexit. Hashtag Chrexit. Time to vote let our faith supersede our politics. We need to quit letting our politics dictate what and make us jump through hoops to explain how it might fit in with our faith, and just absolutely vote our faith over platform, faith over politics. We have to let our Christianity supersede the magic R after a candidate's name. And so, and what that means is it's going to mean a whole lot more of looking into who these people are, what their intentions are, looking at things like Liberty scores from Conservative Review. I put a lot of value into those. And there's only one person out there with a perfect score right now, and that's Mike Lee. And and that's probably the only way Trump is going to prove to me that he wants to keep the promises that he's made, is when Breyer or Ginsburg retire or end up somehow, however method they end up off of the court, The only way I'm going to give any credibility to Donald Trump and the promises that he made about pro-life conservative justices is if he appoints Mike Lee nominates Mike Lee as the next Supreme Court justice. That is my catalyst right now for Donald Trump. And nothing else that he can say or do can convince me otherwise. building a wall, any of those things, which, I mean, again, he made those promises. We're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. And then from that point on, they've been asking for more and more money to build the wall. Well, what happened with Mexico paying for it, Donnie? For real. You know, this man has broken more promises to the people who got him elected, and I say we, y'all, keep defending him and keep talking about how he's the best guy. And I mean people I know and love and respect. People who sit in the same pews in the same church building with me, who I know where their faith is. I know I've seen, fruit in keeping with repentance in these people, and yet they're willing to bend over backwards to defend this man Trump, who has broken most of the promises that he made to them when they gave him their vote. And I'm saying right now, it's time, Christians, that we need to step away. We need to step away from the Republican Party and say, if you're not going to continue to follow the path that we're on, we're going to use the words that Ronald Reagan said about the Democrats and that I've said multiple times about the Republicans. I didn't leave the Republican Party. The Republican Party left me. And that's real talk right there. So as Candace Owens and Andrew Norman are stirring up, and I'm glad to see it, the Blexit, hashtag Blexit, it's time for us to see a hashtag Chrexit. It's time for Christians to pull their support from the ever corrupting Republican Party. And let's see what we can do with that. There's still far more of us in this nation than there are of any other group. We represent, evangelical Christian Americans represent a far greater percentage of this country than any other group. So why not how about we try to let our faith truly dictate where we want our political policies to go? And maybe we can really see some change. It's just my opinion. And so we're going to leave it at that. So this was far more of a political show than I've ever done in the past. But I think it's necessary as we come up onto these next few days. And then we'll see what happens. And we'll get back to a extremely... Well, we'll see how extremely it gets, but a far more gospel-centric podcast for next week, and we may need it, depending on how these elections go in 2 days. We may really need to hear and remind ourselves of the gospel. So look forward to that next week. One way or the other, we're gonna seriously get some gospel going on next Sunday or next Monday morning with the podcast. So as always, thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of this. Share, subscribe, click the notifications, invite people that you think might be interested in being part of this. Keep your eyes on the Persecuted Church Awareness Month stuff. We got 25 more days after today, episode 4 coming out. So keep an eye on that. And again, thank you for being part of this podcast. And as always, preach the gospel at all times. Use words. They're necessary. And until next week, Soli Deo Gloria.